Good afternoon. Several hot topics are up for debate at City Hall today as councillors continue their final meeting of the year.
Two of the items are the land transfer tax and a proposal to provide TTC riders with a money-back guarantee. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live from City Hall with more. Raheem.
Hi, Nathan and Michelle. Good afternoon. There's a lot happening inside council chambers right now, so let me walk through a few of the items for our viewers. If you are a luxury home buyer between $3 and $20 million, you soon may be paying more. This is a motion brought forward by Mayor Olivia Chow, and she's asking luxury home buyers to pay more to help other taxpayers and families out. The mayor says this tax affects only 2% of buyers. Last year, that equaled around 1,100 home buyers and brought in $138 million in revenue for the city. Under this increase, the tax will go up by 0.9 to 1.1%. And with that shift, the city is expected to bring in $152 million in revenue. Now, the mayor says the money will help families save $1,200 through food programs and frozen TTC fares. Have a listen to what the mayor said.
Other than rent, what are the top two costs? Groceries and getting you somewhere, getting you to work or to visit friends or going to school. Those two combined, because of the work that we are doing now, save $1,200. Okay, but we have to find ways to pay for it. Who's paying for it? Well, I'm asking the top wealthiest 2% of the home buyers. Okay, if you have enough money to buy a luxury home properties, then you pay a bit more. And some of you were asking, what does a $20 million homes have? I looked it up. It has 23 parking spaces. It has 10 bathrooms. It is glazed with marble and crystal with an indoor pool. Yes, that is what you can do if you have that 20 plus, actually $22 million. And wow, 23 parking spots, okay? I'm asking those that can afford it to pay a bit more.
Now, another motion that council will be looking at later today is a motion brought forward by Councillor Brad Bradford, and that has to do with his money-back guarantee for TTC riders if their bus, subway, or streetcar comes later than 15 minutes. Now, Bradford says that this is going to hold the TTC more accountable. The data is already collected. However, when you take a closer look, it shows that some of the delays are often because people are on the tracks or cars are parked on streetcar routes. And so some critics say this motion sounds good, but won't actually address the root cause of the TTC delays. Another thing we've been seeing already is a bit of the gloves come off between Councillor Bradford and Mayor Olivia Chow. While up until now we've seen a lot of veiled comments leading up to the election, but now it seems like they're becoming a little more forthright, and there have been some interesting exchanges. We'll have more on those later on this evening. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you both in studio.
Thank you, Raheem. Still to come, the first funeral was held today for a victim killed in the mass shooting at Australia's Bondi Beach. We'll have more on the aftermath of the tragedy a little later in the newscast.
Police are searching for suspects after shots were fired at a McDonald's in the area of Jane and Finch. This happened around 9:30 last night. No injuries were reported. Police say 4 men dressed in black were spotted leaving the scene in a vehicle. Investigators are asking anyone who might have information to come forward.
Crews were called to tow a car out of the Asbridges Bay boat launch overnight. It happened around 1 a.m. Traffic services say the driver was reportedly following their GPS when they turned and drove their car down the ramp and into the water. Police say the driver was able to get out of their vehicle without injury. The car has since been removed. It's one of the busiest travel times of the year at Pearson Airport as many people head out for the holidays.
Now the airport is offering travel tips to help people travel as smoothly as possible. And CTV's John Musselman is at Pearson Airport. He joins us live with more. John, holiday travel, excitement and anxiety all rolled into one.
Absolutely. A lot of happy people here today, Michelle. Smiling faces. People are heading just about everywhere you can think. Warm destinations. Some people going skiing, others going to Europe. We'll show you some video now we shot this morning. The airport is telling us more than 3.2 million passengers will go through Terminal 1 and Terminal 3 over the holiday season. You're talking about numbers in excess of 170,000 passengers every single day. So they're hoping to make this as efficient as possible, telling people to make sure you call and check with your airline before you head to the airport. Give yourself plenty of time to get here, and make sure you think about what you're packing when it comes to liquids and gels and even those Christmas presents. We had a chance to talk to some officials with Pearson Airport and Canadian Border Services. Here's what they had to tell us just a short time ago.
First thing, you have to make sure that you let us know that you, whatever you have, arrive, and we say be aware and declare. That's like one of our biggest things, okay? So preparing yourself, make sure that you have your passports and documents ready and handy to show us, okay? So passports, driver's licenses, and if you have any permits, anything like that. The other thing you can do is have receipts. So again, if you are a Canadian citizen returning from overseas and you've acquired goods while you were away on your vacation, make sure that you tell us what they are and then also have the receipts for those items.
There's a lot of planning that goes in before these busy periods. So it's not just days before, it's weeks and months in advance. There's 400 different employers here at the airport, 52,000 people. So it's really working with all the different employers to make sure that we are ready to handle the busy period. And that means making sure that there's more staffing in different areas to really make sure that everybody comes through the airport has an enjoyable experience. Because, you know, the smiles are on the door, are on their face when they come through the door, and they're excited because they're starting their vacation here. They're heading to somewhere fun. They may be going off to see friends and family, and we want to be ready to welcome them and make sure that they have a good trip.
And things are running very smoothly here at Terminal 1. This is Wednesday. It'll get busier as we move towards the weekend. But again, people just try to leave yourself some extra time when you get here so it get through the process of security and your boarding a lot quicker. Reporting live at Terminal 1, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Appreciate the advice. Thank you, John. Provincial police announced the results of a major investigation targeting an alleged auto theft ring. OPPs say Project Chickadee began all the way back in August of 2023 after officers recovered 4 stolen vehicles in the GTA. Investigators say they found evidence of a larger criminal organization facilitating the movement of vehicles to destinations overseas. The Canada Border Services Agency and other agencies got involved, and police say they executed a number of search warrants this fall across the GTA and in Quebec, and were able to recover more than 300 stolen vehicles and a range of equipment used to facilitate the movement of those cars.
This investigation demonstrates the importance of intelligence-led policing and collaboration across jurisdictions. By disrupting the infrastructure that enabled stolen vehicles to move beyond our borders, we have significantly impacted organized crime's ability to profit from these offenses.
Police also recovered hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and a number of firearms. 20 people face a combined 134 charges.
Fire crews were called to the area of Wilson Station last night for a burst pipe. Now, this was the scene just after 1 a.m. Water was shooting up several stories into the air and flooding nearby streets. It happened at a construction site at Wilson Avenue and Wilson Heights. Toronto Fire says the situation was reported to City Works and died down quickly after the initial surge. Crews have since cleared the scene.
Advocacy group Ontario Place for All is sounding the alarm over what it says is decreasing oversight of the site's redevelopment. The group pointed to an outcry after proposed changes to the sewer system were posted on the Environment Registry last year.
We wondered what would come next. Would the government revise the sewage plan and come back with a better one based on the feedback it received? Not likely. Instead, we got our answer in Bill 5, legislation that does away with consultation and accountability in the name of speeding up priority projects. And yes, Ontario Place had the honor of being named specifically in Bill 5 with a provision removing the requirement to post environmental notices at all.
The group says the province has already begun work on a combined sewer overflow system at Ontario Place that could see raw sewage discharged into the lake, and it's not clear exactly what construction is being done. The Ford government has argued the major revamp at Ontario Place is necessary and defended its handling of the effort. CTV News has contacted the province for comment. More news in a moment, but first, let's take a moment to examine the weather forecast. We're at the midweek mark, and I guarantee you those skating down there at Nathan Phillips Square this hour are probably enjoying the fact that it's a bit milder than it's been, and more of a warm-up is on the way. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. What are you seeing, Lindsay?
Yeah, I'm seeing much the same, Michelle. Noticeably warmer out there. What a difference compared to, well, the entire month of December so far. We are above seasonal. We are above freezing. It is 4 4 degrees this hour. Still a hint of a wind chill, and that's because the winds today are quite strong. They are coming out of the west, sustained around 30 kilometers per hour, perhaps gusting to 50K a little later today. But those winds are ushering in the warmer air, so at least there's that. Do want to point out a bit of active weather to the east of Georgian Bay, and in fact, Environment Canada has a flash freeze warning in place for areas like Huntsville, Baysville, Algonquin Park, and over toward Parry Sound. Temperatures falling this afternoon could cause some freezing on walkways and roadways. In Toronto, though, freezing, not so much a concern today. 5 is our forecast daytime high, and we get even warmer tomorrow. We'll take you through the forecast coming up. For now, Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. A Canadian delegation, including 6 members of parliament, was blocked from entering the occupied West Bank yesterday.
The incident prompted a post from the Foreign Affairs Minister about the alleged mistreatment of the group. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has the details.
It was here at the Allenby crossing that the Canadian delegation waited for hours, only to be told by Israeli border agents they could not enter the occupied West Bank.
What we collectively and individually felt was we felt insulted. We felt absolutely rejected for reasons that we have no idea.
The delegation, organized by the nonprofit the Canadian Muslim Vote, intended to spend 3 days talking to refugees, aid groups, along with Muslim, Jewish and Christian individuals in the West Bank. Instead, 30 people, including 6 MPs, 1 NDP and 5 Liberals, were turned around, with 1 MP claiming she was pushed.
Frankly, I think it's insulting. I really do.
Liberal Faraz Al-Soud says he expected pushback, but never expected many in the group would be told to sign paperwork deeming them a risk to public safety and security.
They only gave us this very vague terminology of public security or public safety or public order considerations. And when we pried just a slight bit, they pushed back significantly, making it clear that they did not need to provide any reasoning.
The group has no intention on trying to cross again and says this rejection is part of a pattern by the Israeli government.
Dialogue is important, diplomacy is important, and this today was a wrongful decision on the part of Israeli authorities.
Israel's embassy to Canada says the delegation was denied access because the trip's organizers have links to a terrorist entity. The Canadian Muslim Vote calls that characterization disgusting and part of a smear campaign.
Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News.
Alberta's premier is demanding an apology after Skate Canada indicated it would not hold national and international events in Alberta because of the province's rules around transgender athletes. A new Alberta law restricts transgender athletes from participating in female-only sports. Skate Canada says it's unable to host events in the province while maintaining its standards for safety and inclusivity. The decision applies only to national and international level events. Alberta's sport minister released a statement saying the provincial rules keep girls safe and competitions fair. Meanwhile, Alberta Senator Chris Wells says the law harms trans athletes, which is why the government preemptively invoked the notwithstanding clause to prevent legal challenges.
There's no science behind the UCP's ban of trans athletes. In fact, if they were so confident in the legislation, they would have allowed it to go to court.
The decision doesn't affect Alberta athletes' ability to participate in Skate Canada programming and competitions. No upcoming national or international events are scheduled to be held in Alberta. And CTV's Scott Hurst has been following this story and joins us live with more. So, Scott, walk us through Skate Canada's decision.
Nathan, you touched on the immediate reaction there from the Premier of Alberta demanding an apology. So it appears this decision by Skate Canada is ultimately setting up a clash between figure skating's governing body and the province of Alberta, as Skate Canada is basically drawing a line in the sand, saying it is setting up Alberta as a no-go zone for national and international events. The decision, it says, and as you outlined, is based on a provincial law, the Fairness and Safety in Sport Act, which was enacted earlier this year in September. Skate Canada says it considers a range of criteria when selecting host locations, and in a statement saying, in part, it is unable to host events in the province while maintaining its national standards for safe and inclusive sport, Nathan.
And what is the reaction to Skate Canada's decision?
As you might expect, and as we touched on, the province is pushing back. Reaction is swift from the Alberta government. Both Premier Danielle Smith and the provincial sport minister standing by the law. The Premier, in a statement, calling the decision by Skate Canada disgraceful, saying women and girls have the right to play competitive sports in a safe and fair environment against other biological females. Going on to say, as you mentioned, demanding an apology from Skate Canada and ultimately saying it expects Skate Canada to adjust its policy. But however, critics of Alberta's policy say the move by Skate Canada sends a clear message. Here's more from Alberta's NDP deputy leader.
This is what organizations have warned about, and really this is an incredible hit to Alberta's economy. Tourism and sport is really important in Alberta. I think they may just be the first of many.
And Nathan, the Fairness and Safety in Sport Act is one of 3 Alberta laws affecting transgender people passed by Smith's UCP government. Proponents of the laws say they protect children. The one in question specifically is about ensuring girls are not facing opponents with biological advantages. However, those speaking out against the laws say ultimately they're about stigmatizing and punishing those in the transgender community. The laws have sparked polarizing debate and legal challenges as well, prompting the provincial government to invoke the Charter's notwithstanding clause on all 3, Nathan, to shield them from legal challenges.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
The Prime Minister will host a meeting of Canada's premiers tomorrow. The meeting will be virtual, but CTV News has confirmed Ontario Premier Doug Ford will be there in person. There's no word yet on the focus of the meeting, but in the past it has been to update the premiers on trade talks between Canada and the U.S. The last meeting was a month ago today.
Funerals will be held over the coming days for the victims of the mass shooting at Australia's Bondi Beach. 15 people were killed in the terror attack, which targeted a Hanukkah celebration. The first funeral was held today for Rabbi Eli Schlanger. The 41-year-old father of 5 was the assistant rabbi in Bondi and organized the beach event where the attack happened. His father-in-law gave an emotional speech during his funeral.
My biggest regret was, apart from, obviously, from the obvious, but from the things that I could have done more, is to tell Ellie more often how much we love him, how much I love him, how much we appreciate everything that he does, and how proud we are of him.
Meanwhile, the parents of the youngest victim of the attack, 10-year-old Matilda, visited a vigil for the victims. Matilda's father, whose last name is being withheld, spoke about their grief following the death of their daughter.
I named her Matilda because she was our first Australian. We came here from Ukraine, and Matilda was my first born in Australia, and I thought that Matilda is the most Australian name that can ever exist. So just remember the name.
Meanwhile, one of the suspected gunmen has been charged in connection with the mass shooting. 24-year-old Naveed Akram is facing 59 charges. He awoke today from a coma after he was shot by police. His father, the other suspected gunman, was killed by police following the deadly attack on Sunday.
He has been charged with 1 count of commit terrorist act, 15 counts of murder, 40 counts of cause wounding, grievous bodily harm to person with intent to murder.
The maximum penalties for murder and committing a terrorist act in Australia are life imprisonment.
U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers into Venezuela, a move that country's government has denounced as warmongering threats. In a social media post, Trump stated the Venezuelan regime has been designated a foreign terrorist organization. The move comes after American forces last week seized an oil tanker off Venezuela's coast, an unusual move that followed a buildup of military forces in the region. The U.S. also recently carried out deadly strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats.
Donald Trump's chief of staff is pushing back against Vanity Fair after the magazine published an article based on a series of interviews she gave.
It includes a stark appraisal of the Trump White House, including the president being described as having an alcoholic's personality. CTV's Joy Malbin has the details.
The Ice Baby. We call her the Ice Baby.
She shuns the spotlight, but Susie Wiles is one of the most powerful voices in Donald Trump's White House. As chief of staff, spilling secrets to Vanity Fair, she described her boss, who doesn't drink, as having an alcoholic's personality. He operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do. And of Trump's Vice President J.D. Vance, Wiles labels him a conspiracy theorist for a decade, whose conversion to MAGA world was sort of political and driven by ambition.
I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true.
Of Elon Musk, Trump's billionaire on-again, off-again friend whose Doge government cuts wreaked havoc, Wiles says he's an avowed ketamine user, and he sleeps in a sleeping bag in the executive office in the daytime. Wiles admits she underestimated the Epstein scandal, how much it meant to Trump supporters demanding the truth about the late convicted sex offender. Taking a swing at Attorney General Pam Bondi, Wiles says, I think she completely whiffed on appreciating that that was the very targeted group that cared about this. She gave them binders full of nothingness. Wiles admits Trump is in the files and flew on Epstein's plane, but he's not doing anything awful, Wiles says. They were, you know, sort of young single playboys together. And Wiles contradicts the White House claim about the drug boat strikes, suggesting it's also about regime change and forcing Nicolas Maduro out. Trump wants to keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle. After giving the magazine 11 interviews, Wiles blasted Vanity Fair, calling it a disingenuous hit piece on her, the president, and his cabinet, but she doesn't deny saying those things. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
Meanwhile, President Trump will address the American people tonight in a speech at the White House. There have been few details about what will be in his speech, but officials say the U.S. president will discuss his achievements this year and his plans for the remainder of his second term. Public polling shows most Americans are frustrated with his handling of the economy as inflation picked up after tariffs raised prices and hiring slowed. The speech is scheduled to begin at 9 o'clock.
And Trump has expanded his travel ban, barring nationals of 5 additional countries from entering the U.S. The list now also includes Syria, South Sudan, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, as well as travelers with documents issued by the Palestinian Authority. Together with the countries targeted in June, there are now more than 25 countries with U.S. travel bans or restrictions. The White House says it's a matter of security. Critics call it an attempt to demonize people based on where they're from.
New data finds more Canadians are being caught up in the immigration crackdown in the U.S.
From what I've seen, we're looking at very minor criminal infractions, but sufficient to attract the radar of U.S. enforcement.
According to numbers released by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, more than 200 Canadians have spent time in custody at some point since January. That's compared to just 137 during this same time frame in 2024. 6 children were among those detained. In the past, experts claim Canadians would have simply be sent back home rather than being detained.
A group of late director Rob Reiner's closest friends have released a joint statement in his honor. Martin Short, Billy Crystal, and Larry David are among those who signed the tribute, which also honors Reiner's wife, Michelle. The statement reads in part, Rob was also a passionate, brave citizen who not only cared for this country he loved, he did everything he could to make it better. And with his loving wife, Michelle, he had the perfect partner, strong and determined. Michelle and Rob Reiner devoted a great deal of their lives for the betterment of our fellow citizens. They were a special force together, dynamic, unselfish, and inspiring. We were their friends, and we will miss them forever. Rob and Michelle Reiner were found dead at their L.A. home Sunday. Their son, Nick, is now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. Police say a knife was used in the killings, but didn't confirm if a murder weapon was found. If convicted, the charges carry a life sentence or the death penalty.
Florida's governor has responded after Doug Ford said he won't be vacationing in Florida this winter. Ron DeSantis posted a news release from August on X saying Florida broke a record for tourism in the second quarter of this year, welcoming 34.4 million visitors. He added that the state continues to break tourism records and win Stanley Cups. On Monday, Ontario's premier said this will be the first winter he is not going to Florida. Many Canadians are boycotting U.S. travel destinations because of the tariffs.
2 polar bears are settling into their new home about 80 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. The females arrived earlier this month at a wildlife park in Finnish Lapland. One was born at the Copenhagen Zoo, the other at a zoo in France. And on the weekend, visitors were invited to see the pair for the first time. The polar bears moved into a newly renovated area designed to house several of the animals. The move was part of a Europe-wide effort to preserve a genetically viable population of the species, as climate change threatens their survival.
Well, after weeks of cold weather, I think many are welcoming a slight bump in temperature. It's a little more comfortable for spending some time out there. Here's the thing, though. We've got some precipitation in the forecast over the next couple of days. And because of the warmth, this is likely to fall as rain. The majority of it is going to fall overnight and into Friday. And then behind it, yes, cooler air returns and we will see some flurries. So this has us wondering, okay, what's going to happen to the snow on the ground? Will it be a white Christmas? The holiday just over a week away, and here's the official criteria. We need 2 centimeters of snow on the ground Christmas morning at 7 a.m. A perfect Christmas would also include light snow falling. We'll see how the 7-day forecast is playing out. We also officially welcome winter on Sunday. We'll take you through that forecast after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Sending a festive card for the holidays is a long-standing tradition for many, and one museum in the city is offering up a unique 19th century card-making experience. And that's where we find CTV's Jessica Smith at the Mackenzie House Museum. This sounds interesting, Jess.
Honestly, Nathan, I was getting a little carried away with choosing my little printing stamps because there are so many options, and it's a really fun way to celebrate the holiday season. I have Danielle and Nathan here. Danielle, I want to start with you. We'll bring you over here. Talk to me about kind of the history of this, because I feel like we're taking things way, way back, but bringing it into the future.
Well, this is an 1840s printing press we're standing in front of, and we're inviting people in to make holiday cards in the 19th century way, which is it looks more like a postcard than a modern card. You're using pictures, multicolored ink, and visually exciting for the 19th century.
And when did kind of the holiday card become a thing? Because I know maybe we were talking before we came on camera, it started with Valentine's Day, but the holiday card has got its own lore.
That's right. In 1843, a gentleman in England called Henry Cole decided he was tired of writing letters in December. People would write letters, lots of letters. He didn't want to answer all of them. So he got an artist friend to design a little postcard he could sign and send, done. And that kind of kicked off the tradition for greeting cards.
I love it. So, Nathan, we're going to make one today because I can't come here and not make a card. Okay. So what is the process like to put it in? We've got one already kind of pre-done with some ink on it. That's our tree in green. But how does this all work?
All right. So this is a printing press. Think of it like a big stamping machine. So we have printing plates. They're like little engravings that we're going to basically ink up, and the press is going to do the rest of the work. So the best way is to see it.
Okay, so let's grab the ink. So we've already got the tree done, and these are the standard size for the cards.
That's right.
So folks can come on down. It is free, which is my favorite price. Nathan knows that, and Michelle, my favorite price is free. You can kind of put the ink on, very, very fun, and I watch a few people come through. So Nathan's putting on the ink right now, and it's really cool because you have, I think, roughly 70 different kind of stamp options.
That's right, yeah.
And you can go through. So we have one more here. I picked blue for the snowflake. So this is for for Lindsay and I. We're going to do this like the weather thing here. We're going to bring a little snowflake in there because we're talking about a white Christmas, hopefully for some. Depends on what's happening over the next few weeks. And I'm going to try to do this with one hand. So we're going to close it now.
That's it, not quite yet. So we're going to put the paper on. So we've got our
need the card first.
Stamps. So it's just ink, paper, and pressure. So we're going to put this over top. Apologies, yeah, it's probably better. You can hear me. I'm going to put one more paper for good measure. That's going to add some extra force and very easy to do it. First thing we're going to do
We're going to come around?
Is we're going to lower down this lid. It's called a tympan. It's going to give us some extra pressure to make sure it squeezes it the right amount.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to crank this, what we call the bed, into the printing press. Okay, so we'll do it carefully. It's about a 180-year-old machine from the 1840s.
I promise I'll be gentle.
So we'll grab onto the handle here.
Gotcha.
We'll press down.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. You hold this?
Yes.
There we go.
I can do my best. Oh, other way.
This way.
That's the way. That's it. And we'll bring it right till it meets. Brilliant. And then there we go.
Okay. Now what's next?
Finally, we're going to bring the press down. We have a large piece called a platen. It's basically activated by this lever. So we pull this all the way back until it hits the post. You'll hear the noise.
Okay, there we go. All right. This is the custom card we're making.
That's it.
So I go back this way.
That's it. We open it up.
We open it up. Okay.
And we'll see the result.
180 years of technology, guys. Very cool.
Now.
And the final result?
We're going to take off this one. That one I'll keep for me. And then this one will be for you. So we'll lift this back up.
There we go. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everyone. So you can come on down. This is going on until January 4th. I'll bring Danielle back in here. Do you have a favorite printing kind of stamp? Is there one that you love the most?
Well, I really like the snowflake you chose, and I really like it in blue. Blue is my favorite of the ink color, but we have a lot of selections. So if you like hockey players or horses or however you want to make your card festive, we might have a picture block for you.
I'm going to be getting carried away because this is so much fun. I'm going to send things back inside to the studio. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and you can come on down to the Mackenzie House Museum and make your very own.
It looks lovely, doesn't it? I got to say, I mean, digital cards are nice, but I'd love the hard, actual cards for Christmas and sending them out. I'm sure you send out all your cards already. No, not yet.
You know what? I did. I have like one more. But it's funny because apparently, I went to buy Christmas stamps and they're like, we have none left. So apparently I'm late in that regard, but whatever. Yeah, love those handmade items.
Yeah.
But who's got time for that?
I will say I write out all of my Christmas cards, but I don't do as much writing with a pen anymore. So I've got ink all over. I've got a sore hand by the time I've done even just a couple of cards, but I always think it's worth it. And we all love receiving cards, right?
I love your cards, Lindsay.
Sure. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Love yours too. Let's talk a little bit about the weather because, there's only a few more sleeps until Santa arrives. So time is running out to maybe do your shopping, get those cards out. The weather is throwing us a little bit of an interesting curveball over the next couple of days. We're not looking at a big snowstorm. In fact, we're looking at maybe a decent soaking of rain. And wait until you see tomorrow's forecast daytime high if you think today's mild. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, the injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Sure, it is mild out there, but it's also quite gray still at this hour. So just be aware of that. We do expect to see a little bit of clearing as we make our way further into the afternoon. That would be nice. We will begin here with a look at the satellite and radar. As mentioned, a little bit of active weather to the east of Georgian Bay. It's pretty quiet in our neck of the woods for now. And tomorrow's going to be mostly quiet too. In fact, we're going to enjoy some sunshine for part of your Thursday. But here's what's coming. We've got a big system bringing snow to northern parts of Ontario. For us, this is going to be a rainmaker. And again, it's mainly going to impact us overnight and into early Friday. There's your Thursday. It's mostly dry. Chance of a quick scattered shower. And then the wet weather begins later in the evening. The bulk of the rain falling through the overnight. By Friday, temperature should be cool enough for us to flip back to flurries, scattered in nature, and then once again, maybe some lake effect snow for the snow belt areas. At this point, we're calling for anywhere from 5 to maybe 15 millimeters of rain, depending on where you are. So that is likely to wash away a lot of the snow that's on the ground right now in the GTA. And I know this isn't great news for those of you who have a backyard skating rink that's been likely operational through much of December. Today's high, 5 degrees, comfortable for many, not great for ice. Here's a look at the almanac. Our seasonal norm is 1 degree. We're going to be a lot closer to that as we make our way through the weekend. Overnight tonight, we dip back below freezing to about -3. Look at tomorrow. 8 degrees, the forecast daytime high, so that is warm for this time of year. 7-day forecast looks like this. Again, a return to flurries for Friday, Saturday, and likely for Sunday too. That's when winter arrives at 10:03 a.m. Slightly below freezing through the early part of next week. Couple of chilly overnight lows, but overall, not too bad temperature-wise. Close to what we expect to be at this time of year. That's the forecast. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Toronto Scepters will be facing off with the Montreal Victoire in Halifax tonight as part of the PWHL's Takeover Tour.
Taken back again. Gentry is in. Shot scores! What a shot!
The Scepters are coming off a 3-1 loss to the Victoire in their most recent game, December 7th. Puck drop for tonight's game at Scotiabank Centre in Halifax is set for just after 6:30 Eastern Time.
National pride, bragging rights, and the thrill of victory. There are so many benefits to winning the World Cup, including a whole lot of money. FIFA has announced that next summer's champion will take home a record $50 million. The runner-up will collect $33 million, with the third place side picking up $29 million. And that's not all. Every one of the 48 participating teams will get at least $10.5 million. Each qualified side will also receive $1.5 million for preparation costs. Short break, more CTV News at noon. When we return, stay with us.
Oil prices are surging today, recovering from the lowest close in almost half a decade. This comes after Donald Trump ordered a blockade of Venezuelan tankers.
For more on this, we're joined by BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya, joining us here in the studio. What more can you tell us about?
Well, this is pretty crazy to see, right? Because we've been seeing oil prices going down of late, also because there's a supply glut on the horizon. A lot of economists predicting that for 2026. But today, Brent price is up more than 2% at about 2.5%. That's above $60 a barrel. So we're seeing the price of oil start to climb a little bit. And this is, of course, for the most part, because of what's happening with the United States and Venezuela. I know you were talking about that earlier today, but Trump ordering a full blockade of oil tankers going in and out of Venezuela. He also says he's designating the Venezuelan government as a terrorist organization, not something he can actually do. You need the State Department to do that, but strong words coming from the president. And this is a big deal because Venezuela has vast oil fields. They produce about 1 million barrels a day. Most of that oil they export to China, about 80%. But now there's about 16 to 20% that they export to the U.S. as of right now. Although any impact on the market is expected to be minimal because we're dealing with that oversupply. So more supply than there is demand in the oil market. And many economists are expecting that to continue into 2026 at least. So what we're seeing today, it's not clear exactly how long that's actually going to last, but it is interesting to watch these prices spike today just because of what is happening in Venezuela.
Right. What about the Canadian oil market? Any impact there?
Yeah, so it's not a good impact, I should say. The Canadian oil market not benefiting from this. It's really interesting. We had Dan Rahinton on today from IA Global Asset on BNN Bloomberg, and he said the Canadian oil market just isn't as profitable. What's interesting is Venezuelan oil is extremely heavy, much like Canadian oil. So that crude oil, really heavy oil, really difficult to extract from the ground. It takes a lot of engineering. It's very expensive to extract from the ground, but Canada has a harder time extracting it from the ground in terms of keeping that price down. So this is part of the reason we're seeing the U.S. start to export more Venezuelan oil instead of Canadian oil. And when we were talking to Dan Rahinton today, he's saying that Canada needs to diversify in the future because of this. Here's more on what he had to say.
When you think about oil prices and where the direction of travel is going, we are moving into a post-oil scarcity world in the next 10 years. And I don't think I would have said that many years ago. And the reason for that is the amount of solar that's being put into the ground, all the other natural gas peakers and baseload that's being spun up, on top of the fact that nuclear is having its moment in the sun once again. Mm-hmm. All of these things is abstracting away the energy use case. So 100 million barrels of oil a day, will it be more 10 years in the future? Of course it will. But it will not be the primary bottleneck energy source in the way that it's been historically, and that's generally bad for prices. And then the whole question is, we talked a lot about Venezuela, we talked a lot about Russia. What does it mean for Canada? Canada's wealth and prosperity is anchored to the energy markets. And the pipelines aren't full on the way out of Alberta right now. That is an interesting thing to monitor, and we're probably going to have to find other sources of competitiveness in our national economy, because the same reason that the Gulf states have moved on, we've been slow to extract it, and I think that moment in the sun for oil has passed.
So while we're seeing most oil prices globally and in the U.S. go up, what we're seeing is Canadian prices. The Western Canadian Select is down at about $42 a barrel today. It's gone down most of the year. In June, it was at $65 a barrel, so it's gone down almost $20 a barrel. That's the price we're seeing right now, and so it's interesting to see how Canadian oil kind of factors into all of this. It's not exactly a good news scenario. What Dan Rohinton is saying is just one opinion. A lot of economists out there are saying that Canada, there's still room for Canada to produce oil and sell it, but some saying we might have missed the boat a little bit.
Real quick before I let you go, there's also potential new measures coming against Russia. How could that affect the price of oil?
This is also why we're seeing the price of oil globally going up today, is because of these potential new sanctions against Russia. If Russia doesn't accept the latest peace deal that the U.S. has proposed in terms of the war with Ukraine that's ongoing right now, so Donald Trump promising potentially fresh sanctions, also maybe targeting Russia's so-called shadow fleet of oil tankers. These new measures we could see as early as this week if they do go ahead. But we saw the price of oil rise after this news today, too. Russian oil and gas revenues, though, are expected to decrease. This is according to Bloomberg News, to their lowest level in more than 5 years, though. So again, just like what we're seeing today with Venezuela, what's happening with Russia also factoring into this. It's probably not a long-term story here, but we are seeing what's happening with Russia raise that price of oil as well. And then just very quickly, in response to that, gold prices are going up today, too, because as usual, investors, when they are looking for a safe haven away from the U.S. dollar, away from oil prices, they hop over to gold.
Another side effect. B&M Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, to other news, a plant species designated as locally extinct has been rediscovered in southern Ontario. The Canadian Wildlife Federation says the Illinois tick trefoil had not been reported in Canada since the late 1970s until a photo of the plant was uploaded to a biodiversity app. It says there have since been 30 observations from the Brantford area, leading to the reassessment of the species. The Federation says the flowering plant is still endangered because of the limited amount of native prairie habitat remaining in Ontario.
A new Leger poll suggests 3/4 of Canadians are confident in vaccines, but hesitancy has increased over the past 5 years. The poll finds about 1/4 of those asked are less confident about safety and effectiveness than years ago. People aged 65 and older were the most enthusiastic and trusting about being immunized. People expressed the most hesitancy around the COVID-19 and flu vaccines.
Still to come, Canada Post says it's ready for the holiday rush after a strike disrupted things last year. We'll have the details when we come back.
Well, Christmas Eve is just 1 week away, and Canada Post says it's ready for the holiday rush after a strike disrupted the busiest time of the year last year. The Postal Service says it expects to deliver letters and parcels on time. Last month, Canada Post and the union, representing thousands of its mail carriers, agreed in principle to new contracts. The deadline to send Christmas cards nationally is today. The deadline to send packages by regular mail nationally and regionally is already passed, but there are still options to get them there by Christmas if you pay a bit more.
As Canadians deck the halls for the holidays, a glass blower in New Brunswick is working overtime.
His delicate work is in high demand, and CTV's Sarah Plowman got a first-hand look at the process.
Ornaments can hold meaning, spark memories or thoughts of loved ones. Behind each one made here is Curtis Dion, a master glass blower.
It's kind of a lost art. There's very few people doing it in Canada.
The holidays bring in a lot of orders. He sometimes crafts more than 100 ornaments a day.
We do the hummingbird, the dragonfly, the bumblebee. We do a mushroom. We do a pickle.
Each demands precision and practice. Like dipping a spoon into a pot of honey, Dion dips a blowpipe into a furnace of molten glass, twirls it, and rolls it in color.
And then we're going to hold it upwards and compress a little bit of air into the pipe so that a bubble starts to emerge.
Like a dance, Dion and his assistant move quickly. Owen Steele has perfected the last touch, the hook.
And while I'm doing it, I'm also sort of in that meditative, almost Zen state.
In high demand this year is the pickle.
I'm giving it as a gift.
That comes with a game of hide and seek.
Whoever hides the pickle has a special gift, and whoever finds the pickle receives the gift.
Heather Rogers is after a snowflake.
I just feel like they're unique and they're handcrafted.
Each ornament is a chance to share a piece of his passion and connect to the community.
I think the ornaments that people put on their trees become part of like a lasting memory, you know, part of their tradition, and it gives us the opportunity to become a bit of a household name.
adding his touch to a family's tradition. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, St. John.
You're watching CTV News at noon. A final look at the forecast coming up. Stay with us.
Live look behind us is looking a little misty. It's definitely gray today, but I think there's something to enjoy, and that's the temperature. It's a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. Much more mild.
Not nearly as uncomfortable stepping outside, but yeah, you just have to be aware of the mist, visibility reduced in some areas. Here's a look at our overnight at a glance. Even though we have a daytime high today of 5 degrees, we do fall back below freezing tonight. Tonight isn't the night that we're looking at precipitation. That's tomorrow night. And ahead of that, a mix of sun and cloud and a high of 8 degrees for your Thursday. Wow, does not suddenly doesn't feel like December, but for the opposite reason. We are well above seasonal. Not so much the case for Friday and Saturday. These temperatures are more typical of this time of year. 1 degree, the forecast daytime high with flurries expected. Similar situation into Sunday, maybe even a brighter day. First full day of winter on Monday, -1 and a mix of sun and cloud. Eyeing next Tuesday for the possibility of some mixing once again as our temperature straddles that freezing mark. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.